Welcome to Spicer & Company. I'm Sean Spicer.
And I'm Lindsay Keith. Well, it's been a long time coming, but finally, a federal appeals court has ordered Judge Emmett Sullivan to dismiss the case against General Michael Flynn.
Professor Alan Dershowitz is standing by to talk about all of that. But before we get to that, I have a video that I want to show you. Take a look at this. This is Eleanor Holmes Norton. She is the Washington, D.C. non-voting delegate to the House of Representatives. She's with Andrea Mitchell from NBC News. And a protester comes up to them and attacks them as Andrea Mitchell's security person kind of repels the guy. Now, as soon as it's over, and I don't know if you can hear it, but I want to see if you can, we hear the words from Eleanor Holmes Norton, and she says, "Where are the police when you need them?" Now, I don't know about you, but I got a kick out of this because it's amazing how they can call to defund the police, and yet they want them there when they need them. Now, again, I digress. We're going to get to this later in the show. We're going to have a lot more of this, but I just couldn't wait to give you a sneak peek of how awesome that video was and how ironic it is considering the conversation that we've been having over the past couple weeks about the role of the police. It's always interesting to show how they really need them when they're under concern, or when there's a threat, or when their personal safety is under attack. But beyond that, just defund them. Anyway, all right, let's get back to this other story that we're talking about, because the 3-year-plus battle that Michael Flynn has been engaged in the court appears to be over. That's right. An appeals court today ordered that the lower court, we've been talking about this for a while, they ordered them to throw the case out against the former national security advisor. The Justice Department, as you will recall, had asked the lower court to dismiss the case, and then this random judge, Emmett Sullivan, had said that he didn't want it thrown out. So, are we done? Can Flynn have a beer tonight and celebrate finally his legal troubles being over? Joining us is Harvard Law School Professor Emeritus, Newsmax analyst, and author of Guilty by Accusation, Alan Dershowitz. Professor, before I get started, I want to say that it's interesting that you have been spot on these predictions. You have said that this is how this is going to go for a long time. But let me just ask this as a layperson. Can Mike Flynn pop open a couple, Miller Lite or Bud Lights tonight, sit back, and finally celebrate his legal woes being over?
Yes, a beer, but no, not a champagne. Because it's over, but the United States Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit does have the ability, either on its own or by motion done by presumably the judge in the case, because both sides in this case want it dismissed. The prosecution wants it dismissed. The defense wants it dismissed. And this Budinsky judge has appointed another Budinsky judge to kind of argue in his behalf. They may try to go to the en banc, that is, all the judges on the court. And it's possible that all the judges on the court will take the case and will view it differently, or that it will be taken to the United States Supreme Court, where I don't believe it would be viewed differently. Look, the Constitution is clear. The Constitution says that federal judges have jurisdiction only over cases and controversies. And if there's no case and controversy, if both sides want it dismissed, it is none of the court's business to interfere with that. I've said that. Hundreds of law professors disagreed with me. Hundreds of former prosecutors disagreed with me. They're all wrong. I've been right, not because I'm smarter than anybody, but because I don't let ideology interfere with my predictions. I don't let wishful thinking determine what I think the outcome is going to be. I look at the law and the Constitution, and the law and the Constitution say if the prosecution and the defense want to drop the case, it's over.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, as I mentioned, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I didn't go to law school. But I think that the other thing that's missing in this is common sense, right? If the Department of Justice doesn't think that they have a case anymore and they ask the lower court to do it, I agree with you. But at what point does Michael Flynn know for certain that he can go from the beer to the champagne and finally celebrate? When does that happen? What is the, you mentioned en banc. When does this happen that he can say, I'm done, I don't have to pay any more legal fees, and I can finally kick back?
Well, if the court gives up and says, look, we accept this judgment, we're not going to try to appeal it further, then he can completely celebrate. But I think he can celebrate now, because let me tell you, let's assume they reverse this. Let's assume they say he can be prosecuted. Justice Department is going to say, we're not going to do it. What is the judge going to do then? Appoint a prosecutor, a special prosecutor? That's the job of the executive. What if the special prosecutor gets appointed and then the judge sentenced him to prison and the prosecutors then say, the Justice Department saying, we're not taking him in prison. We've dropped the case. In the end, it's all up to the executive. So if I were General Flynn, I would relax, but I would not put my guard down. He has a superb team of lawyers who have done a great job for him, and they'll continue to do a great job for him. And I think in the end, he will be vindicated.
Okay, just to put a pin in this, though, does he get like a notice, or how does he know that the court accepts this? Do they have to formally write something down and send it to him and saying, okay, we accept what the appeals court has said? Or how does he actually know that the direction that it's going in one way or the other?
3 or 4 possible ways. One, he could get a note from the judge. The judge could be a gentleman about this and say, look, we're dropping this. I don't think that's likely. Second, the time for filing expires. In that case, he's safe. Third, they could file an application for a rehearing in bank, and the court could turn it down, as I hope it would, but nobody knows. And then he has time to appeal, the judge does, to the United States Supreme Court on a writ of certiorari. So this could take yet an additional more than several months, because the Supreme Court is not taking writs of certiorari now. They're about to start their summer vacation, and they won't consider writs of certiorari until late summer, early fall. So although I think he can heave a sigh of relief, he's being treated horribly, horribly unfairly. Look, I'm not necessarily a great fan of General Flynn. He did say things that probably were not the truth, but he didn't commit a crime, because for it to be a crime, untruthful statements must be material. And it can't be material if the government already knows the answer. They had him on tape talking to the ambassador, so they knew the answer to the question. It was simply a perjury trap that they try to spring on him, and he has been, therefore, the subject of an unfair prosecution. In the end, the prosecutors did the right thing dropping the charge. The court did the right thing ending it, and I hope the remaining courts do the right thing and don't have any further review.
Wow. Okay. Well, this is proof once again that I should have gone to law school, because it seems like you guys, it never ends. You can always retry things, and you have infinite work coming your way. So anyway, thank you for breaking that down. I just got my first Harvard law class.
Great question. You get an A+. You get an A+. Good.
Okay. Well, see if that gets me the ability to pass the bar now. Anyway, up next, what will it take for Republicans to win back the House of Representatives? The man in charge of leading the effort, Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer, joins us next. Plus, how does the Trump campaign counter Joe Biden's virtual fundraising? We're going to be talking with Trump campaign finance director and senior advisor to the president's reelection, Kimberly Guilfoyle. And you're not going to believe the left's cancel culture has done now. Look at who they've targeted. Trish Regan is here to tell us how a prestigious Ivy League university may have to change its name. All that and more.